GCSE Business. This video is exactly how you can get a 9 in as small a time as possible because we're all busy people. But first of all, as an audience, I kind of know who's going to be watching this video. So correct me if I'm wrong, but you're either in one of 3 categories. You either really like business and you just want to take it. You either need it for whatever you want to do after GCSEs, so whether that's A levels or like uni, things like that, which you probably don't need it for uni, but maybe for A levels. Or you thought it would be an easy subject, and if you did think that, you probably look like that. But it is some truth in that statement. It is a relatively easy subject when you know what you're doing and when you know how you can get that answer, because for the most part it is common sense. However, you need a lot more than common sense to be able to get that top grade and get those top marks, which arguably you want to do, unless again you don't really care. I might have that completely wrong, but anyway, if you are part of any of those 3 groups, this video is arguably going to be a really helpful video, and I'm going to show you exactly what you can do to get yourself a 9 in GCSE Business. So let's go. Okay, so when you're answering any GCSE business questions, there's 2 things that you want to consider. The first thing, making a profit. Like pretty much the main aim of a business is to turn a profit and make as much money as possible. But you also need to be doing that while considering ethics. So with ethics, pretty much you're just trying to make as much money as humanly possible whilst considering everything else and the impact you're having on the environment, on people, on your labourers and all of that. So those are the 2 main concepts, and everything we're going to go on from here is going to be based around trying to develop ideas around that. So let me go in a bit more depth. So when you're answering these questions, pretty much what you want to be talking about and relating every possible situation to is cash flow. Whether you've got enough money coming in that exceeds the money going out, hence giving you a greater profit margin and the ability to scale that business. You also want to be taking into considerations the ethics of doing that. So is increasing cash flow by doing a certain thing going to have a negative impact on the environment, and vice versa? But you also need to have an awareness of the limitations of doing some of these things. For example, if you expand your business to multinational levels, so take operations abroad and things like that, you've got to be aware of trade blocks and how that's going to impact your cash flows. For example, importing the materials, is that going to increase cash outflows? Hence, is it going to reduce net cash flow, giving you a lower profit margin, etc, etc. So you might have that benefits of expanding abroad by having a greater market to sell those products to, potentially bringing in more sales and increasing revenue, but you've also got that increased cash outflows. And it's just things like that you have to be aware of and kind of manipulate in a way that allows you to create a coherent argument for why you should do a certain thing. And now that's a pretty major part of business, because in the actual exams you have case studies and you have to be able to justify certain decisions that they can make to further their business and improve the situation. But then you've also got to answer questions, things like what are trade blocks, and you've got to answer mathematical questions such as mathematical sums and how you can solve problems to do with cash flow and things like that. So we've just realized that you have to have the basic fundamental information to be able to answer those questions. So how do you do that? Well, what I did is I literally for like 5 or 6 months before the exam, because I thought I could get away with not doing much for business, I was wrong. I made a bunch of cue cards. So you get 2 revision guides. They're purple ones, I believe. So there's one on Amazon. It might just be 1 revision guide and 2 papers, but I had a set of cue cards for each paper. So this is paper 2, and I've probably got like 100 cue cards, and it outlines all of the content that I need to know and potential impacts of that on like cash flow and on ethics, all of that. And that is how I got all of my information. I'd literally just write all of these cue cards and just go through them before I'd do like a practice paper or something, because you have to know the information to be able to write about it and to be able to suggest the impact of certain situations. So that's where the information comes in. Then my ability to develop those coherent answers comes with exam practice. Now you have to be able to answer and apply all of the information that you've got from these cue cards to an exam to be able to get the top grades, because if you know all of the information but can't write it and can't convey the information that's in your head to the reader on the page, then how do you expect them to give you the mark? You literally can't. Luckily, it's not too bad, because you think of chains of reasoning. Now by this I mean, okay, doing this, how does it lead to this, and then what does that lead to, and how does that affect profit? That is the fundamentals of everything to do with business, just talking about profit and ethics. So for example, let's take the benefits of providing employee training. So first of all, one of the benefits is they might become more motivated, and they might feel more job satisfaction because they're being provided with training. They might feel more valued. This may increase their productivity, leading to a greater output, allowing you to make more sales in a shorter period of time, increasing cash inflows, increasing net revenue, which leads to a greater profit margin. That's one of the benefits. One of the drawbacks might be that training costs a lot of money and time. So not only are you decreasing the amount of products you can produce, decreasing the amount of sales you make, and decreasing net cash inflows, hence decreased revenue, but you're also spending that money on training, increasing your cash outflows, further decreasing net cash flow, and hence resulting in a lesser profit margin. So there are pros and there are cons for that one statement. And I've written all of those down on this cue card, so I can literally just look at all of that information over and over again before answering questions on it and have a solid idea of how I can answer pretty much any question they're going to ask you. And honestly, that is literally it. I would just make all of these cue cards, go through them a lot, so literally like for every mock, before every actual exam, for practice papers, before whatever, I just read through these as much as possible, and that would literally be all the revision I do, and it would provide me with all of the information I needed to answer all of the written questions. But there are mathematical questions, there are questions to do with cash flow, there are questions to do with profit margins and all of that, and arguably a large proportion of people to take business may not be hugely confident in maths. Hopefully you would be, but even if you aren't, this is where Gauth Maths comes in. So let's go check them out, shall we? Okay, so Gauth Math actually recently launched this photo math solver app. Now don't worry, it's completely free and you don't have to pay for anything, but essentially how you can use it is whenever you have a mathematical problem in business, or again in any other subject, all you have to do is take a photo of it, and then their team derives an answer and sends that answer back to you with the specific answer, but also a detailed explanation. So not only are you just going to get the solution to that problem like most of the other photo solver apps, but you're also going to get a complete workthrough of the problem, so that when you're faced with a similar problem next time, you'll know how to do it. So it's almost like learning the fundamental mathematics tailored around the exact questions you're doing, so you don't just have to learn all of the maths and then be able to apply it. You're using the exam specific questions to close the gaps in your understanding of mathematics around the exam specified content, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Pretty much, rather than just revising all of maths, you can revise the specifics that you need for the actual exams by just taking a photo of the questions that you don't understand. And that is pretty much it. So if we go into the app now, I'll give you a quick demo. So let's do that. Okay, so I'm loading up the app now, and when you come in, it literally just says scan and solve. That's it. You just click scan and solve, give access to the camera, and then take the photo of the question that you want to answer, basically. So I'm actually taking a photo of a GCSE Business question. Whack it into frame, as so. Click submit. Then it tells you the exact question that you submitted. It asks you if that's correct. If it's not, you say it's not, and you edit it. If it is correct, you just click correct, and that's done. So I told her what grade I was in, and then once I told her what grade I was in, it helped me to find a tutor. So it just sent off my question to all of the available tutors. One of them came back, and now they're going to try and solve that question. They've said it will be between 1 to 10 minutes depending on complexity, so let's just skip forward to when it's finished. Okay, so they've just got back to us, and this is the answer. They literally just say, here is the answer. The answer is £4,512.50, and then they give the detailed workthrough of that exact answer, as you can see. You can then say if it was helpful or not. I read through that, and it is very helpful. It gives the exact answer and exactly how they got there. Going to give them the thumbs up, submit that, and we're all good. And then once that's done, you can literally just scan and solve another problem, and that's done. Nice. Okay, so in summary, to get a 9 in GCSE Business, it is kind of common sense backed by all of the information. So you need to have the common sense to be able to relate ideas together and suggest how one thing might lead to an increase in profit, for example. But you need to be doing that while considering ethics and while considering all of the other factors that may affect those decisions. And that's where you get all of the information from the cue cards, because you've got things to consider like trade blocks, you've got training, and you've got all of that may impose limitations on the decisions that you need to make to maximize those profits whilst considering ethics. Now, you get all of this information from these cue cards. So if you don't actually want to make your own, what I've done is I've taken a photo of every single cue card and the answer on the back, and I've uploaded them all to the website down in the description below, and you can go and download them from there if you want. So there's about probably like 100 cue cards there, so a lot of information to get through. But then once you've read through all the cue cards and you're starting to get confident with the information, loads of practice papers, just get the exam technique nailed, and by the time you're getting consistent marks, so obviously once you've done the exam you mark it, or you get your teachers to mark it, and once you're getting consistent marks, you're pretty set for the exam, and we're all good. You'll go in, you'll smash it, and it'll be great. And then again, for all of those mathematical questions, I've linked the Gauth Map app in the description, but you can also just go to the App Store and download it from there. And those are kind of the 3 pillars of the revision and the stuff you need to do. It's not like a huge amount that you actually need to do. It's just going through those cue cards, it's just doing practice papers and making sure you're improving. And that's it. That is how you're going to finish that 9. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you have found it helpful, don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to drop a subscribe, because not only have I made loads more GCSE videos which are up there, but I've also made an insane amount of content on just boosting your life circumstances and just making the best of every situation. So yeah, otherwise that's it from me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.
I live inside my own world of make-believe.